I'm Seth Payne, played for the Texans long ago, played in the NFL for 10 years. Going to listen to some Nico Collins clip today from when he made an appearance on Texans All Access. We started in with him talking about getting nasty after the catch. Let's talk about getting nasty after the catch with Nico Collins.
It's just you gotta get nasty after the catch. You gotta go square. When the ball touches your hands, it's like, oh yeah. Now everybody trying to tackle you, now everybody watching you, so it's only right you gonna make a play, man. And just you see a defender just trying to tackle you, man. It's only right you just lower your shoulder. It's only right, man. Just set the tone, Just show the other team that you're not scared. You out there having fun, enjoying the game, man. And it kind of set the tone for the whole team. I feel like once you get that excitement, once you get the juice from everybody, the crowd, the team, it's a ball game. It's gonna be a great feeling for everybody, man. Can't wait to get back with the group, man, get ready for OTAs, and just get back and pick up where we left off.
Okay, this is what I started liking about Nico Collins towards the end of the season. He'd been really good at the run after the catch all year long. It was in that Indianapolis play-in game where all of a sudden he just started trucking everybody. And it felt like it was contagious because Dalton Schultz was trucking everybody on the sideline. That was honestly, now that I think about it, that might have been the first time I really felt like, oh, okay, this is D'Amico's team. Like the defense had been swarming around all year long, but the offense, even though the receivers really latched onto and cared about run blocking, and that's tough and that's badass, the actual like bulldozing run after the catch, and like Nico, I was afraid that Nico was going to get flagged for an unsportsmanlike for hitting a defensive player out of bounds. Like that stuff really emerged towards the end of the year. So I like that. And Sean and I noted this morning that I also really like that he kept saying it's only right. Like, because it felt like he's one of these movie villains who believes that he's ordained by God to do whatever the hell he's doing. And those guys are pretty effective. Those are some pretty effective movie villains. Think about, well, like a High Sparrow in Game of Thrones. That's what Nico Collins probably is. And I'm here for it. Next, he was talking about what D'Amico and Caserio are doing and whether or not he's a fan of it.
Nick and D'Amico, Kyle, they know what to do for the facility, man. They picking the right people, and it's only right for OTAs. It's gonna be fun, and man, I feel like we're gonna be unstoppable. As everybody get the groove, everybody, build the chemistry, man, brotherhood. Everybody bought in, man, and can't wait, man, to shock the world again.
Hey, there you go, shock the world again. Did we shock the world? That's a tricky one. I mean, obviously, like there's like 4 billion people in the world who don't care about American football. But did we shock the football world? I don't think the Texans shocked the football world as much as if they'd gone to a conference championship. That would have been the really high watermark. But they shocked the world in a Detroit Lions type of way, in that their ascension out of the manure pit that they had been suffocating in was quicker than we thought. We thought there was going to be kind of like nostrils up above the manure line for a little while, when instead they just emerged up like some horror movie creature. High Sparrow. Next question. He's talking about the high, what they've done with the defense and the high expectations. He's had some really high expectations for the defense here.
Major, man. All I'm saying, Nico, man, you know what he doing. I'm on the offensive end, but the defense look damn good. The D-line, linebacker, secondary. Yeah, them boys gonna probably be the number one defense in the league. I'm calling it right now. If not number one, it's gonna be the top. But the boys gonna be special, man. I can't wait to see it.
All right, number one defense in the league. I'm just gonna look at the DVOA from this last year. So DVOA, which is defensive efficiency. Don't ask me how they calculate it. It's like when like when we talk about WAR in baseball, we just like to pretend that we know what we're talking about. Like, oh yeah, it's a formula. I usually carry it around with me in my pocket so I could tell you what it was, but I don't have it today. So defensive DVOA last year, we had, of course, Baltimore was number 1, Cleveland was number 2, Jets number 3, San Francisco number 4, Dallas number 5. Dallas was not built to stop really good teams either in the fourth quarter or in the postseason, obviously. Pittsburgh was number 6. I feel like, the top 5, when you start looking at, let's look at number 6 down to Dallas at number 5, San Francisco at number 4, the Jets at number 3, Cleveland at number 2, Baltimore at number 1. That feels more achievable than I might have thought before the free agency period started. The fact that they added two really quality pass rushers into Nico Autry and Danielle Hunter more than anything makes me feel really optimistic about like rising to the upper echelons, because they still have their concerns on the back end, but this is the way D'Amico wants this defense running. And it's like, as he always says, the engine is the front. And if you've got that engine running, that makes the linebackers, that makes the defensive backs a hell of a lot better. I also do think, too, that safeties, Jalen Petrie in particular, he needs to improve, but also the linebacker pass coverage needs to be better in front of him so he can have an understanding of what he needs to do and what he doesn't have to do. And hopefully those will be like complementary factors. So as far as Nico talking about the defense, I think he's genuinely excited about them. I do wonder, I start to wonder, I'm not worried about it, but I wonder if like CJ is kind of looking around and being like, well, yeah, cool. It's cool we got Joe Mixon, and it's cool that we re-signed Dalton Schultz, but I'd like a little bit of help. Saquon or something. I didn't want Saquon. If I would tell CJ, hey, you're fine without Saquon, but if you wanted a Keenan Allen, I totally get it. So whoever comes after Keenan Allen to bolster that squad, or a second tight end. Speaking of Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins was asked about his thoughts on Dalton Schultz coming back.
Man, it was huge, man. It was huge, man. Since day one, Dalton, man, came, man. We always, talking, always asking him questions. Just him being that vet, man, is huge, man. We need that shoulder to lean on. We need the advice from a man, and for him to come in and do what he did, man. For him to get the extensions, man, is well deserved. Everything he got, man, is well deserved, man. I'm happy for him, and he's about to lead his team, man, and the whole offense, man. We're just about to continue to improve, continue to push each other, man, continue to have fun and play for one another.
Okay, the thing I wonder about that was Dalton Schultz showing those guys the ropes early in the season, is that Dalton does have the knowledge of a veteran player, but he also didn't quite have a grasp of this offense, and he and CJ weren't on the same page. So I feel like it was a little bit of the blind leading the blind early in the season, other than like the general NFL lessons that Dalton could give those guys. That's one of the areas that I think, despite the harder schedule, the Texans are going to have a leg up to counteract some of that with the fact that they're not starting at square one. They're not starting with a bunch of rookies. I mean, you had Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, you had a rookie and or backup centers at various times. There's a lot of youth out there, as well as veterans adapting to a new scheme. So I feel a lot better about Dalton Schultz getting on. You remember early in the season, there were some times when just on hot routes, for instance, he and the other receivers just were not whipping their heads around quick enough. They just weren't recognizing when they had to be ready and available because of a blitz. That got way better as the season went along. So that part with Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, everybody, I feel a lot better about. So Texans All Access was talking to Nico Collins. They asked, what is possible with you, Stroud, and the coaching staff coming back in this second year together?
That's huge, man, because my last couple of years, man, it wasn't like that. It was different coach changes, but we solid now, man. I feel like we found our foundation, man, and year two for CJ. I feel like for him, man, it's only going to get better. He can continue to ball out, continue to be him, man. Nothing changing. I feel like he's going to continue to chase his craft. And the rest of us, O-line, receivers, running backs, tight ends, man, I feel like everybody as a collective offensive unit, man, we feel like we all going to chase, them details, man, that we feel like we need to improve on from last year.
Yeah, and look, it's hard to judge at this time of year if people have the appropriate attitude or not. And I'm not even saying this as a criticism of the Jaguars, because I don't know what the Jaguars themselves were saying this time last year. But in terms of the way people viewed the Jaguars, I think there was this feeling that, oh, look at that. They figured it out in the last third of the 2022 season. So the Jaguars are going to come out and they're going to be the best team in the league and they'll just keep getting better. And that was like obviously not the case. So I do think from just the sound bites I'm hearing from people that there's no complacence or there's no belief that, hey, they're just going to be better because that's what happens, because you can chart a graph that looks like it. I feel like these guys are appropriately hungry. And I think with CJ is just so humble all the time about knowing that he doesn't know everything that he needs to know. Like, he doesn't even know what he doesn't know in some degrees right now. I'm not worried about him. Like, I think he's going to overcome some of the same way Yordan Alvarez had a certain maturity about him, that he was going to overcome the adjustments and adjust to the adjustments. That's what CJ Stroud's been doing. So I feel fine about him. And, Nico's been through the ringer. It's not like he's just some rookie that had a big year and thinks that this is all easy. He's seen the downside of it too. Last one with Nico on Texans All Access. He was asked about the excitement around the team and if it's different this year than last year.
It's different, man. It's real different, man. You see the excitement in the fans, man, talking about the Texans, and OTAs, the free agency, man. You see the excitement for next year, man, and it's setting the tone, man. It's boiling the pot for next year, man. Can't wait to be a part of it.
Boiling the pot for next year. Can't wait to be a part of it. I was thinking about the things that are different between this year and last year, and I think D'Amico is the first thing that jumps out. So obviously this time last year, people were already excited about D'Amico, but nobody really knew what they're going to get out of him as a head coach. And nobody knew exactly what the results were going to look like, obviously. So if we go back to January of last year, when we still weren't sure whether it was going to be D'Amico or not, that's night and day in terms of enthusiasm. And I don't know if there was a coaching hire that would have been more immediately embraced than D'Amico Ryans. Sean Payton, there would have been all kinds of debates about any of those guys. I think there would have been a lot of debates about it. With D'Amico, it was unanimous. And that's rare for a franchise that had kind of been through the ringer themselves. The other big thing is obviously CJ Stroud. This time last year, we didn't even know if the Texans were going to draft a quarterback. Remember that fun? Yeah. That was when the reports were emerging. I think this time last year might have been, I think it was after the draft when there started to be the reports of Nick Caserio possibly his job being on the line, and just really a lot of stuff that ended up being complete nonsense. That's changed a lot just by virtue of drafting CJ Stroud, obviously. Last year, we're trying to figure out if they're going to make another go of it with Davis Mills. I don't know. There were a lot of Davis Mills truthers out there. They've been curiously silent. I think they're sleeper cells right now. They're just waiting. They're waiting to emerge. But for the most part, I think even the Davis Mills sleeper cells have conceded, okay, this CJ Stroud kid's pretty good. Hannah McNair 2.0, I think that's been a 2-year process. I think Hannah really started to put her foot forward. I think there's right around the time Easterby was fired in 2022, I think things started to change in terms of how micromanaged the Texans might be, and just exactly, what ownership was going to be sure they didn't allow to happen. And Hannah McNair being more front and center, she's become the surprise cult hero in the city of Houston that nobody anticipated. You go back to 3 years ago when, I remember somebody had some kind of a run-in on social media because they had taken their signs away from them. There was all kinds of weird stuff, and that's all just it's a memory. Case Keenum, underrated part of Texans 2.0. The new uniforms, which I know not all of you are crazy about, but that's the way new uniform unveils go. If you're 50-50, you're probably doing something right. You want half the people to love it, half the people to hate it. If they'd gone super aggressive, then 25% would like it and 75% would hate. And Tank Dell, those are the biggest things that jump out at me as far as the Texans feeling a lot different in terms of excitement. See, Rick knows what I'm talking about. A full back portrait of Hannah McNair. Like a tattoo? That would be so worth the restraining order you would get. As a former Davis Mills truther, I'm so glad I was wrong about drafting Stroud last year. Yeah, listen, I try real hard, man. It's hard as a fan, and you want to believe in the quarterback that you have. And there were things that some of the Davis Mills truthers there's things they would say and places they would go that were just a step too far. And yet I know what you're trying to do. So don't feel bad about it. Don't feel ashamed. You loved somebody. Okay. I'm told that that's important, to love and be hurt, so that when the real thing hits you or something. Money Mills. Yeah. Okay. D'Amico would make Simmons into a weapon. That's an interesting, you know what? I think that the problem right now is that Jimmy Ward is the guy who should be doing a lot of the super smart stuff for the secondary, but I just don't know how healthy he's been. And I think last year, at times maybe he was overly aggressive. At times, I don't know how much D'Amico. I mean, D'Amico's kind of cool with guys being overly aggressive in spells and in certain moments. He's not cool with them being overly aggressive when you have D'Angelo Ross covering Amari Cooper as he's playing cornerback for the first time all season. He does not like his safeties to be overly aggressive in that instance. But I think Jimmy Ward is that guy that he looks at as the veteran leader in the backfield. I worry at this point. This is the only thing I worry about with some of this offseason strategy. It's great when coaches can bring in players that they know and trust. But sometimes if you start like it would have been with Eric Armstead, you start bringing in too many guys that are in their 30s and you start just expecting the same thing out of those guys from the last time you were with them. That can be dicey. I was in Jacksonville when we had gone to a couple AFC championship games and Coughlin started signing a lot of aging veterans like Carnell Lake and Bryce Pop and Hardy Nickerson. And they just weren't the same guys. So I feel like right now, I feel like the balance is pretty good. Keenan Allen would have been. The other part of it is they've only signed these guys to short-term contracts. That's really the good part of it, is that they're not getting out over their skis on just how much they're paying these guys. I think that's why D'Amico brought Jimmy in. We saw him helping guys pregame, just couldn't stay healthy. Yeah, and I think he's been very good for the leadership side of things. He gave Ed Reed vibes when he came here. He's good at them. That's interesting. Like as far as in a good way or a bad way? I guess that's Houston might be the only place in the National Football League that has a negative connotation with Ed Reed. Do you realize how weird it is? Like any other 31 other fan bases, including when he went to the Jets after the Texans, he actually did all right there. There's 31 other fan bases when you say the words Ed Reed, there will not be a hint of negativity about it. Certainly not in Baltimore. And everywhere else, they'll gush about how awesome he was. This is the only state. This is the only city. Really, you should be proud of yourselves that we're the only city that has the guts to tell our personal truth about Ed Reed. Damn it.